What is up? Oh, that was a hard cut. Dang, some of this editing is going to be choppy too. What is up, my Gaggle of Geeks, my Sundance peeps? It is time to talk about The Mission. Now, this is a film that, honestly, I don't think I'm going to be the only one with this similar experience in Sundance. I'm assuming as much. However, I do have a very specific experience with this movie. This is related to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and centered around when these young men and young women become of age and are able to go out on a mission, whether it be 18 months or 2 years, going and serving the church and bringing other people to that church, teaching them about what their principles are, how they believe in families, what sort of restrictions they have, and basically having them come to the agreement to want to be baptized and part of the religion. I have this experience mainly because I was a missionary. I was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and served a mission in Hawaii. And watching first seeing that this movie was out in Sundance immediately made me want to reach out and try to watch it. And not only that, but we have the opportunity to be able to interview the director and one of the missionaries that was in this film. So let's cut to that interview. What is up, my Gaggle of Geeks? And we are back with some of the stars from The Mission. We have McKenna, Tyler, and Kai. Welcome, all of you. Congrats on the film as well. This is awesome. We put a wrap there for him too. I don't know if that works. It's early. It's like 8 a.m. Are you all of you guys are based in Utah right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the inversion is also killing us at the moment too. I looked outside and I was terrified. It looks like Blade Runner or a horror film, either one.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, thank you all for joining me. I watched the movie and I got to see it a little bit earlier, and I'm really glad I was able to because first, tons of like personal experiences that I got watching this that I'm not sure a lot of other critics are going to get. And also just kind of the nuts and bolts of how this even came to be and where you guys are at now, because it just dawned on me today that not only were you in a weird situation like being filmed for a documentary and being on a mission, but you came back to a pandemic, right? Essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, COVID hit us like probably halfway through our missions, or like a little bit
Oh, okay.
earlier than halfway. Yeah, but we were
So
like in Finland, so we didn't know a lot what was going on here in America.
right. So McKenna, what was the initial conversation then with the director about approaching this, and what was the process from when you heard about it to when you were actually in the field getting filmed for everything and it was a green light?
Yeah. So a little bit of the backstory. Tania, the director, she's been like trying to get this film going for quite some time. It's like a few years, and she got church approval to do it because like Tanya and the crew, they're not members, and the church was like, oh, like I don't know, like how how's this gonna be, but
Mhm.
but yeah, Tanya is definitely a very trustworthy person. So
How
yeah,
did she get the how did she
I
get their
know.
approval? It's great. Like
Yeah.
when I saw it, I was like, first they're not members, and she got approval through the church. This wasn't like they came in with GoPros and like just
Yeah.
hide
Yeah.
hide behind there.
Yeah, I from what I remember, if you guys remember, like correct me, jump in. But I think she went to because she met a pair of elders, and she just saw them and she's like, dang, these guys are like, because they're just having some conversation, and she's like, wow, they're like real people. And then that just made her so curious. And so she went to the mission president, I think, at the time, and then was it our mission president, Ilka Aura? Okay, yeah. He like they talked, and like by the end of the meeting they were just like in tears, just like about like the film idea, and like how like they want to portray us missionaries and like show that like, hey, we promise we're real people.
Mhm.
But then from there, then it went up and up, and there's oh, what was it? The like person over missionaries in the church, his name is Brent H. Nielsen. He's no longer in that position just because like it switches out. But
Mhm.
anyways, but he had served his mission in Finland, so he had kind of a soft spot for Finland, and then it kind of got approval from there. That's kind of messy, but that's
Oh.
like how I understand it. Um, but yeah, but from our perspectives, after it was like a week after I got my mission call. I got my mission call March of 2019. the next week I got an email from like the church media relations manager, and he's like, "Hey, congrats on
Jeez.
your mission call. There's a documentary going on. Do you want to interview for it?" And I was like, Okay.
Wow.
and
Was that the same for you two as well, Tyler and Kai? You got email sent over, and then
Yeah,
we're kind of like, well,
basically.
what were your reactions to it? Because it was probably around the same month that you got the call, so that's first a shocker in itself.
Mhm.
Then you get the call that you're wanting to, be a part of an actual documentary.
Um, well, I didn't at first when I saw it. I thought it was some kind of like scam. Then my second reaction was, I don't want to do this. And I showed my dad it, and he kind of forced me to do it.
Mm.
So I was a little bit forced in doing it at first, but after a little while, I just accepted the idea of it.
Was it more because you were like, I don't want to distract from the work, or it was more, I don't want to be in a documentary about anything, let alone have it be about the church?
It was more of, I don't want to be on camera.
Yeah. Dude, I get that. Like doing any of this stuff, I still hate looking at myself on this thing. I hate any sentence I start, I have no idea where it's going to go. It's kind of like a Michael Scott situation for me. So,
Mhm.
Tyler, was it the same for you? Were you apprehensive at first, or were you more like this could be a fun experience?
I think the biggest factor that assisted me was the love and the genuineness that Tanya and the two crew guys, Ilka and On, both of them have said. Just as you kind of go into it, it is like you can't turn to anybody and say, "Hey, remember that one time you were in a documentary on your mission? How did it go?" It's very new territory for everybody, and when those interviews happened and when they came to Utah to just kind of see what was going on, I just think it was really instant for all of us that we really felt that it was the right thing for us to do, and it made it a lot easier knowing that they were really nice and kind people.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a lovely opportunity for us, but I think um, it'll be much cooler to kind of have this legacy of the film last for much longer than our missions did.
Yeah. Well, were you all nervous being on camera too? Was it just like the whole time you're like, am I being my actual self, or am I being a version that I want to portray?
Mhm.
I think our first mission president, he, our first day in Finland, he says, if you try to be this type of cookie cutter missionary, it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
And the beautiful thing about the crew was that they said, we just want you. We're not telling the lives of cookie cutter missionaries. We're telling the lives of four individual human beings with four different stories. And just as kind of Kai was saying, it's weird to be in front of the camera, but I'll definitely say with me personally, and I say with all three of us, after you're in front of the camera for probably like 30 minutes, you don't even know it's there anymore.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it gets a ton easier, and it's really quick.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
I'd have to say, Tyler, you specifically in this, the genuineness of who you are, I feel comes out, and the director they did a fantastic job with all of you capturing really just what your personalities are like, and how you're interacting with your other companions. I think the part that made me laugh out loud the most, McKenna, you remind me of my sister so much when you're at the shoe shop and you're trying on the different shoes, and like you are having the most fun time I've ever seen anybody try to
Mhm.
find rain boots, and then when they just the turn right over to your companion,
Mhm.
just, "Okay, are we ready? Like,
Yeah,
we
it's
good to
like
go
straight
yet?"
out The
Or
Office, I feel like. I don't know, that was yeah, it was
but
super
the
funny.
what people don't understand is that it's very real. Like,
Mhm.
if you have a companion that doesn't necessarily like, and it's not necessarily that you don't get along, but doesn't like, I don't know, go along with some of the differences that both of you have, it can make things a lot more difficult. Was there anything with companions not really liking being a part of this, that, or like, did they have different opinions versus what the original, I guess, missionaries that were asked to do it, come, or were they asked too? It's that is a weird question. I didn't think about that. How did the companions come into play with this?
Or Tyler, do you want to answer?
You first.
I
Okay,
didn't give anybody a thing. Kai, you answer.
Oh,
Hey, he looked quiet, so I was like, I don't know.
Well, I do have something to say, so
Yes.
might as well before I forget it. I never had any of my companions not want to be in it. I did have one companion in particular who messaged me all the time. He's like, "Am I in the film? Did I make it in the film?" And I would always tell him, I'm like, "Sorry, man, you didn't make it," just to because he gets so mad about it.
You were Andrew
but-
Garfield Spider-Manning him.
Yeah. But as far as companions go for me, every single one of them enjoyed being in it. So, and I don't think any of them were not natural or camera shy at all. So it worked out for me. I don't know about anybody else, but
Yeah, that's like pretty much the same. I'm pretty sure that like if a companion, if there was a missionary who really didn't want to be in the film, they would let the mission president know. I think at least with our trainers, like I know that like they like had to like set like check off a paper like yes, like I would be okay being in a film. But that isn't like how our companions were chosen. Obviously, it's just like a thing to take into consideration. But all of my companions were really supportive. Like even if we had like different personalities, like we all just ended up being like best friends. So like because I definitely needed their support through it, and they like it was just kind of cool like being like, oh yeah, this is like how the documentary is going. Like this is like how to like kind of ignore the camera, or I don't know. It was really cool. So it kind of was like a bonding thing, I feel like.
Oh, for sure. I could not even imagine. I asked you before the interview, McKenna, about the district. Have Tyler and Kai, have you guys watched the district? You've had those things circulating around. What were your thoughts as you were kind of Truman showing yourself, being like you're making the documentary while you're watching another documentary? Was there stuff where you're like, well, now I know that wasn't that was staged or something, or that was a whole other thing. And what do you think, comparing the two, which one feels more like what a mission actually is?
The Tanya's film, The Mission, by far. I think there were two different focuses, and I really appreciate that you said to all of us how it's weird to say how our characters were very genuine and coming off that way. And I think just kind of as we talked about in the beginning, Tanya's whole purpose was to like see behind the suit or see behind the name badge or that idea. And as I personally was watching the district, sometimes it seems a little fake, and you're like, well, sure, that's kind of how a mission is. You have, tough teaching lessons, and you have, this and this and this. But one of my favorite scenes in the film for my character is when me and my companion were in the north of Finland, and we went, to the outskirts of like the houses. And we were there for probably about 3 hours, and it was just really frustrating. And they have a 3-second clip of me just kicking the snow as hard as I can and then just continuing on. And I think, that example for me, it's like it's full of heart and full of genuine to let an audience member know that, hey, like we're real like people, and this is a real moment of discouragement, and this is a real moment of like humanity compared to, you know what I mean, almost.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. And honestly, I didn't know if I was going to bring this up during the interview, but I guess I will. Tyler, the one thing that I feel like I do have in common more with you so than the other missionaries in this is that I actually came home early from my mission too. And it was for different circumstances, but I did want to ask kind of and this kind of goes for everybody because the pandemic hit at the same time. So there is a lot of mental health questions, I guess, when you come home and how you basically reacclimate to life. And right now, life isn't really what it was when you left, even if the mission happened one way or the other. So how have you guys been after, I guess, is the best question.
Yeah, good question. I've been well. I think like for the first part coming home, it was really hard. Like it took me like 3 to 4 months to finally feel like, "Oh, okay, like maybe I can like be home and be like a person again." I mean, not that I wasn't a person on my mission, but just like not a missionary.
Mm,
But but yeah, it was hard because like I don't know, just like different things that had happened and like yeah, just a various amount of reasons. But I feel like it's been really cool because like now like I've been home for a year and just like seeing everything that has happened and like reflecting back and being like, wow, like so many cool opportunities came and like I'm so grateful that like Heavenly Father gave me these opportunities. And so like I like to just like reflect back and like be like, oh wow, like thank you. There are definitely like hard moments for sure, but yeah, but things have been fun and like I've just been trying to seize the moment and do my best. And yeah, it's been good.
nice.
Yeah.
Just because she said good doesn't mean you guys have to say good if you don't
Yeah.
feel good.
Yeah, I think it was. We had a lovely interview a few days ago, and I started talking about how nobody's experience on if the mission reaches audiences of young people figuring out, maybe I want to go on a mission, maybe not. Nobody's experience is going to be the same. And just kind of like you stated, like our circumstances were very different. And it was, I think the coolest part, like looking back, the coolest part about being sent home was that I didn't want to go home. And I think that just kind of speaks volume for me. And one thing that I'm incredibly grateful for is just the Finnish culture. And that culture is very individual almost. They don't really go out and, talk to a ton of people, and they're just kind of reserved. And for me, one thing that's taught me over the course of my mental health journey is how to love myself more. I had an incredible example in Finland.
Mm.
And so coming home, it was probably every day for an entire year. So from October of 2020 to this last October, it was insanely difficult for me. And it's cool. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to the film and maybe, you as well, as you've stated, just kind of this roller coaster of up and down mental emotions. And it's so cool to have like a little portrayed of that, to say,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, like somebody understands that. Or, with Elder Polly's character, it's like, oh, somebody understands not being able to, be as loud as, some people. And that benefited Elder Polly in so many ways. And, Sister Field's Sister Bill's on the mission. It was so incredible just to kind of see their characters flourish. But I think, it was really hard to cope coming back for all of us. And I think one reason is because we all kind of fell in love with Finland, and we all just kind of had that longing to go back.
Yeah. Kai, are you all so close right now? Like after all of this stuff, are you guys just like the best bros, everybody? Or like do you have a group chat where you're like, "Do you believe that this is a thing?" Or like,
Yeah, oh
is he
yeah, I
muted?
would
Kai's
answer
muted
that.
still.
Kai, you answer. Yeah.
Being thrown under the bus.
I'm throwing you under the. We're bringing you into the bus. You're out of the bus.
Yeah, in my opinion, we're all pretty close. It's kind of like unlikely friendships, because I'm pretty good friends with Tyler, and we're not super similar, but we're still pretty good friends. So I think this film has connected a bunch of unlikely people that you wouldn't assume to be friends. We just bonded over the film.
Nice. Well, I want to thank all of you again for coming on and talking about this. The final question I have for all of you is this to me feels like the most unbiased examination of a mission as well. They're not trying to come at this with an agenda of whether like this is something that is bad for somebody that's going into something, or whether it's actually incredibly beneficial to the point where, like, I don't know, it feels like it's I don't know, oversaturated and not really genuine. It feels unbiased to me. But what would you say for anybody watching this movie that's a member of the church, or what could you, I don't know, what would you want them leaving the film thinking about, or non-member? It could be either.
That's a really good question. I'll jump in quickly, but I think, oh, there's so many things, but I think just like, first of all, just like understanding that like for members that like missions are a choice, and that like missions can really change you if you put your heart into it. And just to be like you, like God doesn't call you to be like kind of like what we've said before, like a cookie cutter missionary, but like he knows who you are, he knows your strengths, and he knows like how like such a huge impact you'll make and the friends you'll make forever. And for like anyone, just like I hope this shows you that like I don't know, that like you're I don't know, yeah, for anyone, you're okay to be you. Please be you. And just like know that like you are loved exactly like that. I don't know. That's whoops.
No, that's beautiful. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Either one. Just do that the whole time. Give like yes, two
Yes.
thumbs up.
Yeah.
Good.
One thing that I want to say is I think a really good theme that I just thought of. Everything I relate to is 21 Pilots, and there's a song called Migraine, and it says, "Am I the only one waging my wars behind my face and above my throat?" And that kind of theme for Tania's vision of how to see people behind like a superficial level, behind those closed off walls. And I would implore everybody, just like McKenna said, whoever you are, from whatever background you come, we all come from various backgrounds, and just to go in there with that idea of, hey, we're going to see somebody behind their everyday mask that they put up, and to kind of think about how you can see that in yourself, to go in there with nothingness and try to relate it to yourself. And it's just a beautiful thing. And I think if people go in there and they just listen, and with not really a huge amount of intent to get anything, they'll get everything.
Kind of what I was thinking is a lot of people have a certain view of what missionaries are and what missionary work is. I think a lot of people, including members, think that missionaries are kind of robots. I think this film is going to help members and non-members see that we're not just robots, we're not weirdos, we're just normal people like everybody else, and we're just trying to share what we have come to love throughout the years. And I think it's going to be especially good for those people that are trying to decide whether or not they want to go on a mission, because it might be the tipping point for them to decide if they want to go or not.
I totally agree. And I also think that a lot of return missionaries are also going to see this and see themselves in you and how vulnerable and open all of you were. So thank you for taking honestly, for taking it seriously and for being like, look, I gotta make sure that I'm unique to myself, and that's what's going to shine. And it totally did. So I want to thank McKenna, Kai, Tyler, all of you for coming on, for talking to me a little bit about this. Everybody, please go check out The Mission. It is at Sundance. And of course, you can get tickets. It's going to be virtual all throughout the week. And I strongly recommend that anybody that is a Utah local, or maybe is just curious about the church, this isn't like a Scientology documentary. So if you're going in looking for this big expose or like the truth revealed, no, if anything, this is a beautiful little piece of showing these people that are trying to do kind of an enormous task, and trying to keep their identity at the same time. So thank you again, as always, and let's get back to the review. Now, the mission follows these few LDS members as they embark on their missions to preach the gospel, and you see the differences in each member very clearly, and kind of what their ideas are going into this. They're all serving in Finland, and you get to see exactly what a day to day life is for a missionary, and what challenges are faced with it. And I can tell you that there's a lot of challenges that happen with the mission, as well as pretty amazing things when you think about what you're doing, right? You have this weird position of authority within this church where you're able to go and preach the gospel. You're often told that you can go on like a soapbox and like preach in the square like you would back in the day. At least that's what I was all what it would always felt like to me. Like the romanticized version of the mission was that. But really, what it is you desperately trying to get anyone to look at you to acknowledge that you're there, and then from there not sound like a crazy person wanting to like discuss faith immediately, and seeing if they'd want to meet again, or giving them a card with contact info to reach out to something, or even just to straight up the Book of Mormon of what the Mormons read versus in addition to the Bible, I guess I should say. Man, I'm sure a lot of LDS people are going to be watching this like, I don't know if this guy should talk about this. Well, I'm going to. The church has approved the film after months of working with the director, and I'm going to talk with the person with the director about this. And uh, having the access that she has with this is a little bit unheard. In the mission, there's these films that would circulate called The District. It was kind of a reality TV show based missionary series that you could watch and kind of be inspired by. Like, look, these people are struggling too. I'm struggling with knocking every door or whatever and it not working out. But what I love about this movie is this documentary is that it's very unbiased. It's not looking to really sway you one way or the other, more get what the missionary's perspective is and how they feel. Because there's missionaries that aren't necessarily sure they should have done any of this to begin with. There's some that are so excited and so engaged that it almost turns off their companion missionary that they have to be with. There's a lot of instances where there's you don't really know anything about this person that you're about to spend 6 months with, or maybe 3 months. Sometimes it can go bad and you need to have an emergency transfer. They shine a light on a little bit of that, but don't delve too deep into some of the drama parts of the mission. And I think that would present a little bit more of a bias to it. So I do appreciate still that the director kept it in the middle as far as how you're able to perceive it, and you can come out with your own opinions on how missions are, and seeing these people out with name badges and what that actually means. Overall, I personally really loved watching the mission. It doesn't necessarily delve too deep into some of the issues of the institution for me, but at the same time, it's one of the closest looks any person that's not a part of this religion would be able to see going in, and actually getting an understanding of what these people are doing when they're going out and proselytizing. So definitely check it out if you got a chance. And it's Sundance, it's in Utah, so I'm sure a lot of locals will want to check it out. And I want to know your guys' thoughts. So please leave a comment down below. Let me know. Thank you so much, as always, for watching, and I will see you at the next review.